Have you ever found yourself caught in the same emotional storm, even when the faces around you change? Like walking in circles through different rooms of the same house. We meet new people, start new chapters, yet somehow, the pain feels familiar. This isn't just coincidence, it's the echo of an old wound still left open. What if it's not the world repeating, but something within us playing on loop? Pain has a memory. It leaves traces inside our nervous system, shaping how we react, how we choose, how we trust. Without realizing it, we're drawn back to what we know, even if it hurts, because familiarity can feel safer than the unknown. Isn't it strange how we sometimes choose discomfort simply because it's predictable? They say karma isn't punishment, but repetition. A lesson unlearned will return, again and again, dressed in different clothes. A toxic friend, an absent parent, a controlling lover, all echoed the same emotional imprint. Until we become aware, until we pause and ask, what is this really about? Our minds are wired for survival, not peace. They seek what's familiar, even if it's pain. That's why awareness is a radical act. Mindfulness is not just peace, it's rebellion. It's choosing to see the cycle, to step back and say, I've seen this before. I don't have to play it again. Healing begins not with blame, but with observation. When we look closely not at the people who hurt us, but at the patterns we keep, we gain power. The power to pause, the power to feel instead of react. And slowly, the same pain no longer feels necessary. Isn't that what freedom truly is? It's not just about who hurt us. It's about the stories we told ourselves afterward. I'm not enough. I always ruin things. These silent beliefs become magnets, pulling us toward the same suffering again and again. But what if the story could change? What if the voice inside could be rewritten? Every emotion you suppress doesn't disappear, it waits. It hides in your reactions, in your relationships, in your silence. And then one day, someone presses the wrong button, and all that old pain comes flooding back. Have you ever wondered, are you angry at the person or at your past? We attract what we believe we deserve. And sometimes, deep down, we believe we deserve pain. Not because it's true, but because it's familiar. But what if healing begins the moment we say, I deserve something different? Can one shift in belief break years of repetition? Think of emotions like seeds. The ones you water, resentment, fear, shame, will grow tall and thorny, but so will compassion, presence, and love. If you choose to tend to them, you are not just a garden, you are also the gardener. So, what are you growing? It's easy to blame others. It's harder and more freeing to look within. The world mirrors what we haven't healed. So next time the same pain knocks on your door, don't slam it shut. Sit with it. Ask it, what are you here to show me? Maybe pain isn't punishment. Maybe it's the teacher you've been avoiding. The truth is, we don't heal by forgetting. We heal by understanding. When we bring awareness to the emotions we once buried, we reclaim the parts of ourselves we abandoned. Every hurt you faced holds a message. The question is, are you finally ready to listen? Patterns are persistent, not because they're powerful, but because they're unconscious. The moment you name them, when you say, here it is again, you take back control. Awareness is the light that makes the shadows disappear. Isn't that how we begin to wake up? Some people come into your life not to stay, but to reveal what still hurts. They are mirrors, not enemies. Instead of asking, why did they do this to me? Ask, what part of me still needed to see this? That's when relationships stop being traps, and become tools for growth. Imagine a river flowing through your life. Every experience, every person, a stone in the current. If you resist, you drown. But if you float with awareness, you begin to see the shape of the water, and maybe you can choose a new direction. Could letting go be the most courageous choice? The cycle of emotional repetition doesn't break through willpower, it breaks through presence. Not fighting your emotions, not fixing them, but feeling them fully, gently, truthfully. The moment you stop running is the moment you begin healing. Are you still escaping, or are you finally arriving? Each time we suppress pain, we teach ourselves that discomfort is dangerous. But pain is not the enemy, it's the alarm bell, not the fire. When we pause and feel it without resistance, something softens. We don't have to react. We can breathe instead. Isn't that where true strength begins? Often, we seek healing by changing our circumstances. New job, new city, new relationship. But if the wound is internal, no external change will fix it. Wherever you go, there you are. So the journey must turn inward. Have you tried escaping something that was actually within you? You are not born to repeat pain. You are born to break it. The patterns you carry are not your identity, they're your inheritance. And what's inherited can be transformed. With mindfulness as your compass and compassion as your guide, a different path is always possible. So many of us confuse survival with living. We carry wounds so long they become part of us, like invisible armor. But protection can also be a prison. At what point does guarding your heart become denying it joy? You don't need to fix everything today. You only need to become curious. Notice when the old pain rises. Observe, breathe, feel. With each gentle return to awareness, the cycle weakens. You don't need to fight the darkness, just light one small candle. We often wait for the world to change so we can feel safe again. But healing asks the opposite, to find safety within, even when the world remains uncertain. When you build calm inside, chaos loses its power over you. Isn't that the essence of true freedom? Every person who triggers you is showing you a map of where you're still hurting. It's not always fair, and it's never easy, but it is a chance to pause, to reflect, to ask, why does this still live inside me? Healing begins when blame ends and self-inquiry starts. Some wounds are loud, others whisper in the choices we make every day. The job we stay in out of fear. The silence we keep in conversations that matter. The love we don't believe we deserve. Healing isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's the quiet choice to choose yourself again and again. When we repeat the same pain, we're not broken, we're trying to resolve something. Our mind loops until it finds closure. But closure doesn't come from redoing the past, it comes from understanding it. Can you let go of fixing what hurt and focus instead on what it taught you? A moment of awareness can do what years of reaction cannot. The next time the same argument rises, or the same fear knocks, pause, breathe. Ask yourself not, why is this happening to me? But what is this showing me about myself? That question is the key that unlocks the cycle. Sometimes we think healing means being free from pain forever. But true healing is learning how to meet pain differently, to greet it with presence instead of panic. The wound may still ache, but you are no longer afraid of it. Isn't that a kind of peace the world can't take away? What if your triggers aren't signs of failure, but invitations? Invitations to look deeper, to unearth old stories, to rewrite them with compassion. What if every discomfort was a doorway to understanding? Will you keep slamming the door, or will you step through? Not everything that repeats is yours to carry. Sometimes we absorb patterns from our parents, our culture, our past lives. But just because the pattern is old doesn't mean it must be eternal. You are allowed to say, "This ends with me." And that choice echoes forward. Letting go isn't forgetting, it's choosing peace over repetition. It's not about pretending it didn't happen. It's about deciding it doesn't get to control what happens next. The past is real, but so is the power to create a future rooted in clarity. Which will you choose? As you begin to see the pattern, you're no longer inside it. The moment you witness the loop, it starts to loosen. That's the gift of awareness. It creates space between you and the pain. And in that space, healing enters. Slowly, quietly, fully. Like light filtering through cracks you thought were flaws. Repetition thrives in the unconscious. But you're not asleep anymore. Every mindful breath, every pause before reacting, is a quiet rebellion against the old script. You are the author now. The question is, what story do you want to live instead? Even in the midst of pain, there is always a choice. Resist or return. Resistance tightens the cycle. Return opens the heart. You return to the breath, to the body, to this moment, over and over again. Isn't it beautiful that your healing begins where you already are? The people who hurt you weren't always trying to teach you. They were often just acting from their own wounds. But life uses even those moments as mirrors, not to punish, but to awaken. And you're awakening now. Not despite the pain, but because of it. You've repeated the pain enough times to know it by name. Now it's time to know your peace. What if today, instead of preparing for another storm, you prepared a place inside yourself where the light could rest? Could your softness be the strength that breaks the cycle? The soul doesn't shout, it whispers. And in the noise of repeated pain, that whisper can be hard to hear. But when you quiet the world and lean in, it speaks. You are not what happened to you. You are what you choose next. Do you hear it now? We spend so much energy trying not to feel the same pain again that we forget to ask, what is it asking of me? Pain isn't just something to be avoided. It's often the compass pointing to what still needs your love. Have you ever truly listened to what your wounds are saying? Sometimes we revisit pain not because we haven't moved on, but because we've grown enough to understand it better. The lesson you couldn't see before now stands clear. The same situation, seen with wiser eyes, becomes a different path entirely. What do you see differently now? There's a moment often quiet and unnoticed when you no longer blame life for your pain. Instead, you thank it for revealing your strength. That moment changes everything. The pain loses its grip, and you begin to walk differently, not lighter, but clearer. The old pain may still knock, but now you answer with presence. You no longer slam the door or run. You sit beside it, offer tea, and say, "What have you come to show me this time?" That's not weakness, it's wisdom. That's not surrender, it's freedom. Healing doesn't mean the pattern never returns. It means when it does, you meet it with eyes open and heart soft. You don't fall into the same reaction. You breathe. You smile, perhaps sadly, and say, "Ah, you again. But I'm different now." And that changes everything. The reason pain repeats is not because you deserve to suffer, it's because your soul longs to be seen, fully and gently. Each repetition is not punishment, but a request. Will you see me now? And once you truly see, the cycle no longer needs to return. If a fire alarm rings again and again, you wouldn't blame the alarm, you'd look for the fire. Pain is like that. Repeating emotions are not the problem, they're the signals. The real question is, what within still needs healing, still needs honesty? Sometimes, to break a cycle, you have to become the person you needed when it first began, not just for yourself, but for the world. You become the one who listens, who softens, who doesn't turn away. That's how wounds turn into wisdom, and pain into purpose. Karma isn't just about consequences, it's about consciousness. The more aware you become, the less you're trapped by unconscious reactions. And with awareness, karma becomes choice. You are no longer a prisoner of your past. You are the path itself unfolding. If the same pain keeps returning, perhaps it's not there to torment, but to teach. To show you the doorway you've always missed. To invite you to step out of reaction and into reflection. Maybe pain isn't the loop. Maybe it's the key. The moment you stop asking why me and start asking what now is the moment transformation begins. It's subtle like a tide turning, but powerful because you're no longer defined by the pain, but by the courage to face it with open eyes and an open heart. Patterns break when presence enters, not force, not denial, presence. The quiet awareness that watches without judgment, that breathes instead of reacts. With each breath, the knot loosens. With each moment of mindfulness, the story shifts. When the pain comes again, don't fear it. Greet it like an old visitor. Ask it what it remembers, what it's trying to protect. Often, beneath the pain is a younger part of you, still waiting to be heard, still waiting to be held. You don't have to rush your healing. Some cycles take time to unwind. Be patient with yourself. Each small act of presence, each breath of compassion, loosens the grip of the past. You're not behind, you're becoming. One day, without realizing it, you'll face the same old pain and feel nothing but peace. The cycle that once ruled your life will feel like a distant echo, not because it disappeared, but because you've changed. And in that moment, you'll know this is what freedom feels like.